talk to us this morning. Good morning, Eric. How are you doing?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing great as usual. Beautiful day out there.
Commercial real estate, is it up or down? What's going on here in Williston?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really depends on the segment and the type of commercial and industrial real estate. Office is picking up a little bit, but that slowed through the pandemic levels, both here in Williston and of course across the nation, as more and more people are working from home. Industrial real estate has picked up a little bit as we're headed into winter. We obviously had a blizzard here last week, so that got a lot of calls from folks looking to get inside before winter so they can work on their equipment. Retail's starting to gain some steam as well, headed into the holiday season, and so yeah, things are definitely picking up here for sure.
Question about commercial real estate. If I just want to invest in commercial real estate, is that a good route to take nowadays?
Yes, it sure is. It really depends on the type of real estate. Is it industrial? Is it commercial? Is it offices? What's your occupancy rate? What type of cap rate can you get? We still have some of the highest cap rates, which is really just an annualized return in the country. We're starting to get a lot more investors outside of the areas we discussed last week that are coming into the market. And then really it just depends on the quality of your tenant and the length of the lease. One thing that we're seeing right now that's kind of a constraining factor is the cost of money. It used to be 4.25% to 4.5% on a commercial or an industrial loan. That's now well over 7%. So obviously that will cut into those returns.
That 7% marker that we hit this week really stymied growth across the country. How about here?
Yeah, it sure has. On the residential side, it slowed it down a little bit. We are insulated from the rest of the world from oil prices. There's a lot of demand here. More people want to get out of the apartments that are filling up. We don't really have much inventory in the way of single family rentals. So people are now trying to get out of apartments, trailers, other living situations to buy. And so really it's a game of musical chairs right now. There's more buyers than there are sellers currently. We're still sitting at less than 3 months of inventory on the residential side and starting to see that as well on the industrial side. The difference between commercial and industrial loans and residential that most people don't know, you could typically get into a house with 3.5% or less if you get seller paid closing costs on a residential. Industrial and commercial are going to require 25 to 30% down.
A lot more cash needed to get into that area.
Correct.
So talk to me about not just commercial, but investing in townhomes or apartments, because it seems to me like people are going to start shifting to rentals because they're priced out of the market for home sales for a little bit. Would it be a good time to buy apartment houses?
Yes, of course. Right now we're seeing that there's not a lot of new inventory coming to market. So those same investment dollars that are chasing the industrial investment opportunities are starting to look for rentals. Our rental rates are going up, occupancy is going up as well, and people right now are able to get a higher rate of return here than they can in other markets. We've had a lot of demand lately for multifamily apartments, twin homes, duplexes, and it really just comes down to a good quality tenant and cash flow, but we really do see rates going up on rents.
Erik Peterson with us every Tuesday morning at the 8 o'clock hour, talking about real estate. This morning we're talking about commercial real estate primarily. Talk to us for a minute about investing in commercial real estate and deciding whether to rent, lease, or buy. I mean, that's a big decision for a business owner nowadays. What should he or she be considering?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're an oil field company and let's say you want to free up some cash, you can do what's called a sale leaseback, where you sell your building to an investor and then essentially lease it back to them. You can get a great cash flow coming in, reduce your overall risk, and then have a good setup there. We're starting to see a lot more of that in this area as really cap rates or returns around the country for commercial and industrial are 4 or 5% maybe. A lot of times here you could get that 8 to 10% return. So as an owner, you need to decide, do I want to own the building? Do I want to lease it and pay somebody else's mortgage? Or do I want to do some kind of a sale leaseback, be able to occupy the same property and free up cash?
Here comes the softball question of the day. Do I need a real estate agent to be involved in commercial real estate?
You just necessarily don't need one. It's kind of a loaded question, so I appreciate the softball. I would say, just like with residential, right now especially, it's really imperative to find a pro, somebody that has the experience, that really knows what they're looking for. And there's a lot of nuances between a residential property purchase and an industrial or commercial. There's so many layers of risk in there, so we recommend finding somebody with industrial and commercial experience. The questions that you may not know as a residential buyer, typically, what is it zoned on an industrial property? What kind of environmental concerns are there? From a functional standpoint, what issues do you have? And a pro can really keep you from getting off the road and into the ditch, so to speak.
I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but what's the climate for commercial real estate in town right now?
Yeah, so it depends on what sector you're in. We've been getting a lot of calls on offices, retail, looking to get some of these professional staffs out of oil field companies that are busting at the seams, and so they want to have their support staff in an office location. That market is really strong and picking up. Rates on those are $15 to $25 per foot per year. We're also seeing some retail. We've had calls from boutiques and other types of retail that are looking to bring services here. We just helped the range open up in the Harvest Plaza. That was really great to be able to have a golf simulation and hunting simulation company. They had a ribbon cutting last week that was really fun. We're seeing more and more of those. And on the industrial side, in that 5,000 to 10,000 square feet, that's really a hard market to find, really tight inventory. There's a lot of properties in town that are available. Let's say the old Halliburton, Baker Hughes, some of these larger 100,000 square feet facilities. So it really just depends on the size and the type of real estate.
So before we let you go here, talk to people about what you think is going to happen in the country, because you talk to real estate agents all over the country.
Yes.
With this 7% interest rates on money right now. Are we headed for a crash in the real estate market?
Yes, I would say so if we're not already there. If you take a look at a lot of the economic numbers from around the country, we're seeing prices slashed, we're seeing less competitive bidding, we're seeing situations where the bank foreclosures and short sales are going up. Estimates that I've heard are up to 10 million houses will go into foreclosure. People stopped paying their mortgages because they were told they didn't have to and they couldn't get evicted. That's really caused some problems. It's hurt credit. It's hurt the amount of money that you now own your mortgage company. So the rest of the country, in my opinion, is really going to slow down. Oil prices are going to remain strong. Demand's going to go up once we figure out this Chinese stuff. And honestly, it's really going to come down to the most critical election in my period and in the last few years anyway, next week. What is that going to look like? Are we going to be able to get some wind at our sails out here on a national level to help the oil community out? If that happens, I really think prices and this particular area will be strong for real estate for the next 3 to 5 years.
Biden talking yesterday on the stump about a windfall tax on oil companies. That would be disastrous for this area, wouldn't it?
It would, and it's all about timing. Right now, our economy is so fragile right now that you just can't go out there and start raising taxes, increasing the permit times, and doing all these other things. We were really close to energy independence, depending on who you talk to. We've got to get back there. We've got to stop buying foreign oil. We've got to keep it here, and we've really got to create jobs is really the main thing. And I would say moving forward, that's going to be our most critical factor. These oil companies are making more profits than they ever have before, but they really need to incentivize these companies to continue to drill. I just saw that we're now above pre-pandemic levels for oil production. We've got to continue to do that in a slow manner and not swing it to the other area to push prices down further.
Always a pleasure, Eric. Thank you for stopping by this morning.
Thanks again for having me. It's always fun.
Erik Peterson talking about real estate every Tuesday morning at the 8 o'clock hour. We invite you to stop by and spend some time with us.